Seat selection, yay! So with seat selection, the main thing you're going to be looking for is the regulations that guide you within your rally or within your road racing or whatever you're going to be using this car for. Now within Australia, if you're going to be using this as a street car, you have to get the cars mod plated. Yes, I believe. I think I've got mod plated up here. So you have to get them mod plated, so you have to get them checked by an engineer, make sure they're safe, and that's a pain in the ass. With a rally or a race car, you have to get a FIA approved race seat. And now there's a couple of different ones that you can use for rally. Now with rally, you have to keep in mind that you have a high risk of going into a tree sideways, flipping your car, a whole bunch of crazy stuff that can happen to you, and I've seen it a few times, quite a lot actually. Now the main two seats that you can get are I'm not exactly sure what the terminologies are, but you can get a seat that wraps around straight, pretty much right next to your head, so you have to get into a side impact and your head goes sideways, you just hit the mounts on the side, or hit the rails on the side, and that is like this one. So they actually come out, I don't think there's a better picture there at all. There's a side picture of the dimensions. So that one there, that's a side picture of this particular seat. And the other style you can get is not as hugging around the head area. And for me personally, as the driver of the car, I feel that probably this wouldn't be the way you'd go, but hey, if it fits, it fits. So that style there. So as you can see with that one, it's not as snug around the head, and in a side impact, you would kind of roll your head to one side. And it could be actually quite dangerous. Not 100% sure. Never been in an accident in them, so I don't exactly know how your head would react. But I just, sitting in them, I just feel that the other style is safer. Now with the RX7, the biggest problem I've had is been finding seats. This is literally the hardest thing about this car so far. I can't use the stock seats, mainly because they're just not going to, they're reclining seats, they're not fixed bucket seats. They're going to change them. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there saying that you have to take part of the tunnel in where your gearbox sits, so in the center of the car. You've got to take about, I think it's 20 mil of the tunnel out to actually fit or mount the seats. Now, I'm trying not to do that. I don't really want to be messing with the structural integrity of the car, and doing stuff like that, like cutting into the car like that can actually affect, in a crash, it can actually affect your crumple zone on the side impact of the car. Your roll cage should help that though, if you've got a roll cage in it. But the main thing I found is the shoulder width. That's the biggest issue. Now the shoulder width right now, if I was to bolt one of these seats, particularly the regular size shoulder width seat, which is about 590 to 610. Now that is pretty much your shoulder of the seat, so the part that sits there. That would actually be sitting up against the window, and in a crash, you can imagine what would happen. Stuff would go through the window, or a whole bunch of stuff can happen. So you want to be a little bit away from the window at least. You do have a helmet on, so it's not the end of the world. But for me personally, I want to be a little bit away from the window. So I've tried to find a seat that actually is narrower in the shoulders. This is very difficult, especially, it's extremely difficult. So I went through about 13 companies and tried to find a seat from them that fit. And some of the seats, some of the companies I checked out were like Sparco, Recaro, OMP, Micro, Momo, Racetech, Velo, Brembo. I don't think they do a seat. Don't count that one. And there was a few others in there as well. Now, I had to go through all the dimensions, shoulder dimensions, height dimensions. I've got 1 meter to play with, and that's including the brackets. So a little bit less. So I'll probably maybe be able to play with about 9.5. Yeah, about 950. And that's with the top of the seat touching the roof. Now, I found the Racetech one, this one here, which is a RT4009HR, actually will probably fit. Now, you also take in consideration the roll cage that you're going to be putting into it. Don't forget the roll cage, because the bars go down the side, and you have to go off the thickness of the bars as well. So, on this one, the mounting plate, the mounting width is 400 mils, and that gives me enough mounting space. Basically from the side is the door side to the tunnel, which the gearbox sits in. I've got about 530 mils, so I've got about 14 centimeters to play with, or 13 centimeters to play with in there, so I can shift it over and rotate it just a little bit. So I'm aiming at the actual steering wheel, and the shoulder width on this one is actually 570 instead of 590. Now, there were smaller ones, but for example, the OMP Prototypo, that had a shoulder width of 530, but only had a height of 790. So if I had that, it would only be onto like probably the base of my neck here. 790. I think I might have said 590. 790. So the height of the seat would only be up to here, which is quite, if you had a crash, it would be quite devastating, So the Racetech is actually 890, which is pretty much up to the top of my head when I'm sitting. So it's a good size. It's a good size seat. Yes. So there, on your car, measure everything up. Depending on what car you're using, if you're using like a BMW, you probably find it pretty easy to stick a seat in it. If you're using smaller cars like the RX7, I heard that the FC series of the RX7, so the newer version, the 2000, I think it's the 1999 to 2003 version, they are a lot harder to stick seats in. So you gotta measure everything up, and your seat selection is quite important. You need it to drive, really. So the seat that I'm looking at, the Racetech RT4009HR, is 1,400 Australian dollars, which is more than what I paid for the car. So I will get back to you all if I buy it or if I find something else. But this is where I'm at right now, trying to find a seat.